Good Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Wayne and Steve show on Talking Pools podcast. Good to be back every Thursday, as is always. An opportunity to discuss some topics related to the pool and spa industry for everybody that we hope you find interesting. We think we do. We think you'll find it interesting. Steve, this is a Steve day. We're going to concentrate on what he's involved with, but since today, the day that we're recording this, is actually the first day of the actual Olympics, a little bit of talk about that Olympics, because Steve has his heart in one of those competitions over there. So go ahead and take it away, Steve.
Thanks, Wayne. So, hey, everybody. As you said, the Olympics do start today. So I think later today they have the little boat parade. So that should be fun. But I do kite surfing, right? So we've talked about that before. So I ride for one of the brands, North Kiteboarding, and they actually are just getting into like racing. But there is like a class in the kite foiling world that was picked up for the Olympics this year for the first time. It's called kiteboarding, but it's really kite foiling. Mm-hmm. And basically what it is these guys, they have these as big as a kite as you could put up, and they don't have air in the kite itself, so it kind of blows itself up. But they're these really technical kites with these really thin lines, these racing lines on them, and it's attached to you. And then you basically have a sailing race. So it's an open sailing course that's in the middle of where they're doing it, and then they all kind of race. And sometimes it's a really short race, but it's really intense because there's these guys that are going 40 knots. 35, almost 40 miles an hour sometimes. And
wow.
They're right next to each other in the water. So it's super quick, but it's super intense. And it's something that I'm super interested in. Like, our little slice of the world that I live in with kite surfing, like everybody's super excited about it. And also I'm excited about it because I live in Belmont Shore, California, which is in Long Beach. And I kite surf every day at the venue for 2028. Now, I'm not going to be in the Olympics in 2028. It's a totally different style. What I do, I'm more of like a freestyle where that's actually racing. They're going really, really fast and really straight. Where I want to get into a wave and go downwind with the wave and ride the waves. I want to surf. Sure. They want to go really fast. But like I said, it is something that's super exciting. So if you are interested in taking a look at that, there's so many obscure sports and times that are out there. So that will start on the beginning of the day on August 4th, if the wind does develop at 3:15 local Paris time. And then it should commence on the 8th. So between the 4th and the 8th, definitely watch on your TVs. And you should be able to see not only the kite foiling, but they also made this IQ foil, it's called. So think of windsurfing with the guy with a sail, and he's holding the sail on like a board. And then there's a hydrofoil on that, and that comes up out of the water. So these guys are also flying too. What I like about that class is with the kite foiling, you get to pick any size kite you want. So like the better guys are going to hold down bigger kites. It's almost like driving a car with a bigger engine. It's just now you got to slow down more for turns and stuff. So it's actually who's more technical, but people are riding with different size engines per se. In the IQ foil class, it doesn't matter what the wind is. Everybody rides on the same equipment. Everybody has the same exact handlebars, the same exact foils, the same exact everything. And I think that is really cool because now that's like, hey, we're all going to be really underpowered or we're all going to be super overpowered, and we're all going to have to deal with that at the same. Because what I found in kite foiling is that the guys who are really superior, they will go out on these kites that they like nobody else has any business being on. Because they're just going to be like almost to the moon, like it's really uncomfortable riding like that. But because they're so technical and they're so professional and they train for this every day, right? They're just in a class above, So to even go out and watch, just to be able to watch any, not just in the foiling world, but any of these Olympic athletes. And you're going to see the meme come across, it's really funny where someone memed a couple years ago and they were like, they should have just a regular person like run the event first. Like let's see Joe Schmo run the 200 meter and see his time, so you actually can know like how amazing these guys and fast and how much these guys actually train are, it's just really next level. So I'm just excited about the Olympics all around because there's a lot of not great stuff going on in the world right now, right? We got like 2 wars and, we don't get political, but in America, our political situation has been upended in the last month. So this is something that, brings the world together, and I'm really excited. And I'm hoping everything goes smoothly.
Do you see this as a more male or female dominated sport, or is it pretty much even?
So the sport that I do, it's definitely more male dominated, and it's definitely bigger in Europe. So like the market is more people do it. It's been around longer in Europe, I would say. But it slowly is coming to the United States. I would say as far as kids go, there's a lot more young boys doing it. But there are a lot of girls out there that are pushing the limit. There's another whole class that's not in the Olympics, and it's called big air kiteboarding. And these people are not, they're on regular boards, but they're jumping 60, 90, 100, 110 feet in the air. And then like doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And if you want to see something like that, that's called Red Bull King of the Air. And they run that once a year in Cape Town. But if you just look up the highlights on YouTube and it's like a 2-minute video, and it's kind of like if these guys make one mishap or one misstep, like you're breaking both your legs. It's,
right.
When you fall out of the air 50, 60 feet, even if you're hitting water, it feels like it's concrete, So, so some of these people, and it just depends. Like being a professional means a lot of different things, right? Like I'm like what you would call a professional kite surfer, but I have a job. Like I run a service company. That's what we're going to be talking about for the show. Right? It's not like paying for, like there's a few people in the industry who are really head above and beyond. And those are the people that are like getting the magazine cover pictures and like writing for the brand, and the brand will take them and take their pictures and like, post it on their videos and stuff. And I definitely have, aspirations to be part of an international, kiteboarding team at some point, but I'm 40 years old. So like, I got to be realistic in that. Like I said, I have a pretty cool Instagram, and that's what I like to do. And, we get to travel a lot, and this, that's one of the things that I want to explain, that like, I'm not a super rich guy in a sense, but being in this, we do well, but being in this business, it has afforded me a work-life balance that I never had before I started my own company. Because now I get to pick and choose my clients. And we were just talking about this off air, that like I get probably between 3 and maybe 15 calls a week for new service clients that are like, hey, I want you to come service my pool. It's green or whatever it may be.
Right.
And I have a screening process now, where before I was like, I'm taking everybody that I can. Now I'm very wary about who I take on now, especially just because liability reasons. And like, I have a lot of people, not that we have like problems paying, but now like once you get into having over 100 clients, different things like that. I've also found out that like once you step into the commercial realm, getting paid in a 30-day pay period is not ever going to happen. Yeah. Sometimes you're waiting 60, 90 days. So you have to be really upfront with them about what they're looking, what you're looking for. And like, you'll go to these businesses who are huge conglomerate corporations. Like I'm talking the top hotels, and they'll hit you up with an email and be like, hey, like, you said you're missing this, this, and this. Like, we don't see that. And it's like, we sent you all of the bills. You have all of the bills. It's just like, they just need to take a minute to go through it. So again, it's not like working for the biggest companies in the world or making the most money in the world, but it really is about, are you happy with what you're doing? And I actually just got back from vacation with one of my buddies who found kite surfing independently from me, but he also runs a pool company in Florida. And I was just talking to him, and he's a single poler, and he's doing like 70 pools almost himself. And we sat down, and I told him the benefits, hiring an employee. And, his thing was like, hey, like the area that I live in Florida is really, really like upscale, So he's like, everybody wants me to be in the backyard. And I was like, Kevin, I was like, do you think that when I go in somebody's backyard, like they're not telling me that they need me to be there every time? And I like, very politely explain to them that like, that's not what I do for our business anymore. Right. That's not my role. So, so I will be here for it. And I pick up my phone all the time. So if you have a question, like I'm your point of contact. So if you have a problem or a question or anything, you can just call me anytime. It's just I'm not going to be the one coming and backing in your pool. At this point in time, if I'm the one that's going out and cleaning the pools, we're actually leaving money on the table. So,
right. So you have to vet your customers just as much as a customer would need to vet a business to do whatever it is. Not just pools, but anything really.
The mobile WaterLink Spin Touch allows pool and spa professionals the ability to test water in the field. A patented WaterLink Spin reagent disc is used with the innovative photometer to measure 10 different tests in just 60 seconds. That's right, just 60 seconds, and you'll have results displayed simultaneously on the photometer's touchscreen. That's not all. You also have the ability to send the data through Bluetooth into a smartphone or a tablet device. The photometer can measure free chlorine, bromine, total chlorine, combined chlorine, pH, alkalinity, hardness, cyanuric acid, copper, iron, phosphate, borate, biguanide shock, and salt. The water analysis can be proactive since they are able to measure all of these important tests and recommend correct procedures to fix their water chemistry issues when using our WaterLink Solutions Pro software program. It allows pool and spa analysts the best way to achieve precise results. So simple, anyone can use it. This is the most advanced system for precise use of wet chemistry methods ever produced. Pool and spa analysts can achieve precision without time-consuming tests or cleanup procedures. This groundbreaking analysis system is so simple, no vials to fill, no prep time, no guessing. To learn more about this innovative lab, visit www.waterlinkspintouch.com. Again, www.waterlinkspintouch.com.
You have to vet your customers just as much as a customer would need to vet a business to do whatever it is, not just pools, but anything really. But yeah.
I think that a lot of times people will call Wayne and, they like heckle and haggle for, other stuff in their life. So they'll tell me like, hey, they're retired. Or like, hey, they're on a fixed income. You know what I mean? And I'll say to them like, hey, like I'm running a business. I don't say this too often to people, but I give them this as an example. I'm like, you don't go to your dentist and when he gives you a quote for your filling, you're like, I mean, you might be like, hey, like, would you do it less if I gave you cash or something like that? But right. Like, you're not asking him to change he's a professional. He's a doctor. You know what I mean? He might not be a doctor. He's a dentist, but he still went to medical school for a few years and it took him, 8 years to become a dentist or whatever. Like that doesn't happen overnight. Also, like I didn't get here overnight. I've been doing this for 20 years. So, people ask a lot like, hey, it seems like you're more expensive than the people that are out there. And number one, the market that we're in is a pretty expensive market and it is not the highest market. Like if we look at like what people are making in the Northeast or in Texas, even like their per stop is way more money than we get over here. And I feel for you guys on the East Coast because I have a couple partners that I work with in, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area. And right now, like it's just the busiest time of the year for them and they got to make all their money in 15 weeks. So there is pros and cons for being that. But like I said, the one thing that I do not miss is, having to go out in the cold and open or close pools.
Not anymore. Not in the cold, at least. So enough about the Olympics. And I was going to chime in real quick about my pet peeve with the Olympics and that they included breakdancing as a sport, and it's not a sport. I'm getting off my soapbox now. Anyhow, how is that a sport? No. Anyhow, what we're going to touch base on a little bit today, we're halfway through the normal pool season, and I know where you are, it's pretty much year round, but where I am, it's not. But, the year is a little more than halfway done. And what are some of the challenges that you think our industry is facing? And I'm not just talking in staffing or budgets or anything like that, or, you have your area of expertise, Steve, I have my area of expertise, and there's always challenges. But what are some of the common themes have you seen in the industry that are challenging for us in the industry as a whole? Any thought?
So I think that, margin is the biggest thing that's shrinking. And it's hard to keep track of all of the stuff that's coming in and out. Because if you run a shipping warehouse, exactly how many pallets of stuff you have and all. But like if you own a company and you have guys like independently going to your distributor and picking up 5 cases of chlorine here or 7 cases of chlorine here or, 3 cases of muriatic acid here or whatever it is. And then they're using it, to keep track of all of that is tough just because back in the day, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you put an extra 2 gallons of chlorine in someone's pool and you like them as a client, you're like, no problem. Like I got this, like that's on us. Where now, like I'm not giving stuff away like that anymore. At the beginning, I used to give away Protect All Supreme, which is a sequestering agent. And it's actually from this company called Biodex. It's not that I love Biodex. I actually think that their pricing has been crazy. It went from when I first started giving it away, it was like $50 a gallon, and now it's like $130 a gallon retail.
Wow.
So I've actually not only stopped putting it in for free, I've started telling my clients, like, I'm not putting this in, and the only reason I'm going to give this to you and I'm going to make you pay for it is if you have brand new plaster. And by brand new plaster, I don't mean like 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old. I mean like your plaster just got plastered and we just started up your pool. Or like 6 months in, because everybody, you know, they say that all the time, like, my pool is new. And it's like, 3 years ago, the pool's not new anymore, you know?
No.
So I think that margins are tough. So keep on top of your margins. It's really hard with that. There's some months.
And along with that too is with margins, and it works together, is simply inventory control. You got to learn how not to over order or, God forbid, under order to maintain stock at your facility so that you can go out and do your daily job, that kind of thing. So if you're caught in a situation where, for whatever reason, you're under inventoried and you don't have the product that you need in order to satisfy a customer's needs, you know, you're limited as to what options you have. You know, do you wait? Do you go someplace else and pay top dollar? You know, that kind of thing. So I think they work really well hand in hand here.
Yeah, and that moves into my next point of documentation. And in CPO class, I mean, the whole first hour, we talk about document. And I always tell everybody, you know, I might have 20 people in my CPO class, and I'm not actually, we did the quick rundown of who you are, where you're from, and what you do, you know, and have you been CPO certified before? We want to know that. But as far as that goes, I know you work for a hotel, but like, I don't know if it's the Ritz-Carlton, and now you have like $1,000 iPhone that, you know, has an app on it. So if you have to put in anything, like, you just go into the app and you just put it in.
Right.
Or if you're like the mom and pop shop hotel owner, that, you know, if the maid calls out that day, like, you might be not only doing the front desk, like, you might be flipping rooms and cleaning bathrooms. Like, I'm not really sure what you do at your job. So I always tell them, like, I don't know what it is to document at your job, but you need to go figure that out. At my job, I know what it is to document, and my guys listen to the show all the time. So guys, if you're listening, we all need to do better documentation, specifically in like closing out Skimmer or whatever app you're using, and making sure that you're not leaving stuff open or leaving stuff on the table. Because again, I'm not at the site with these guys. You know, like, as your employees are out there doing pools for you, you're not there with them. So you don't know how much they really used or if they're measuring their stuff. You hope they are, and you taught them to. But like, when we run a report, our lives would be a lot easier if when we ran the report, you know, everything was on there. Because every month we do it and we're like, oh man. And then also, like, if you don't document it while you're doing it, like, and you do 15 pools, let's say, like, and you're on pool 11, are you going to remember anything from pool 2? So if you forgot to put in, you know, that you put in an extra 3 gallons of chlorine, I mean, chlorine retail price right now is what, like $11 a gallon, $12 a gallon. So, and then you got to pay for the case. And, you know, if it's the reusable ones, they charge you cash for it. So those are $10.
And, you know, documentation isn't just paperwork,
no,
which nowadays is, you know, kind of lessened, obviously, because we all have our cell phones. But photography, photographs. And the reason I bring that up, I have a reason for this, method to my madness, is that we were in the process of getting a new roof on our house. Current roof has been there since the house was built in 1977. All the sheathing needs to be replaced, down to the rafters. The company actually delivered today the material. They're going to start it on Monday. And when the guy was done, really nice guy delivered it, I saw him standing there taking a picture of it there next to the house to show that it was there. And I went, damn, that's really good. That's good, you know, documentation, good proof that, yes, I delivered it. This is the condition I delivered in. This is the timestamp of when I took the picture, that kind of thing. So you have everything there. Now I know sometimes it's a little bit difficult to do when you're out there, you know, like you said, just, you know, cleaning or scrubbing or whatnot, or adding again.
No, Wayne, no. I have to stop you with that one, because if my guys said that to me, I would freak out. because it's not so hard to stop and do that. I actually was confused because like I think that the apps should be able to allow you to like take a picture and then when you get back to your truck, like upload that picture into it.
Upload the picture, yeah.
And I asked them, I was like, dude, like you're making my life hell here. And I saw them at the show and I asked them and they were like, yeah, but they were like, what about your text not showing up and using pictures from weeks before? And I didn't even think about that. And I was like, wow, like I guess they could be using a pic if they really wanted to try and screw you and not go there. And, you know, they know the client's out of town or something like that. They just don't show up. And they send, you know, they upload old pictures. So in most of the apps that you use, the picture has to be live while you're there. And I can't tell you how many times I get back to the car and I'm like, come on. I'm like, man, I'm like, the house isn't that close, you know? So Jen hates it because she'll wind up getting like a picture of like the, you know, the symbol of the car on the steering wheel or something like that. But like it pisses us off when our guys do that because it's we would really rather them go back and just take a picture of it because it is so super important. Because I will 10 to 12, a dozen times a year, I'll have a client reach out to me and say, hey, did you come today? And it could be because there was a windstorm and it blew leaves in the pool, or you know, they just checked the camera and it was off or something and they didn't see you. And that's another thing. Like I tell my guys all the time, I'm like, you're on camera all the time. So if you go to this client's house and you only spend 7 minutes there, like they're going to show us that you were there for 7 minutes. And then I'm really going to see that you were there for 7 minutes, you know, and like we're going to have a huge. So Doc, and like I said, my guys all do a great job. Like I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the team that we've been able to field over the last 5 years, 6 years. And I'm really proud that these guys stay with me because I haven't had much movement in the last couple of years. I'm knock on wood, even though we've had a lot of changes in the industry. So I always want them, like I said, I don't want to harp on it too much, but I can't tell you how much documentation means, especially in the fact in the summertime right now, like we're halfway through the season. This is the hottest time of the year. And let's be honest, like the pools are going to look like shit once in a while. You know, like you show up and they have algae and it could be because the salt cell stopped working during the week, or, you know, it needs to be backwashed, or it's just been hot and there's no cyanuric acid in the pool, or, you know, the high phosphates. There could be a, you know, myriad of reasons that it could be, right? But if you don't text the client then and show them the picture, and this is independent from the app, this is you text the client and say, and it kind of sucks, Wayne, but I have the guys group text me with all of the clients just so we can like triple check it, because I also don't want them showing up in someone's backyard on 5 minutes notice, because it's people's backyards. Like they could be doing anything back there. They also could shoot. They also could shoot you. You know, so you tell them, hey, I'm 30 minutes away. You know, I usually texted 3 clients in a row, like, hey, going to be there in half hour, 60 minutes, you know, 90 minutes. And I'd send out 3 texts to them all at once. And then, you know, no problem. But I have to tell them, especially because we only give a certain amount away. And for you guys that like really don't know how to price pools, or you're just kind of like winging it, you can't be winging it. So the way that I price out my pools is we start at 10,000 gallons and we give away 1 gallon per 10,000 gallons. So my price, as we go up, basically 5,000 gallons, it gets more and more increased, right? So like, let's say it's like a $5 increase for 5,000 or whatever, and you're doing $50, you know, like and for a 10,000 gallon pool, now if you have a 20,000 gallon pool, that's going to be $60, you know, and you're going to give away 2 gallons of chlorine, you know, and then if it's a 30,000 gallon pool, it would be $10 more, and then you'll give away 3 gallons of chlorine. Now, 3 gallons of chlorine in a 30,000 gallon pool would bring it from 0 to 10, theoretically, you know, or so. Hopefully a little bit more, but like it never does. So let's say we put in, and we've talked about this before, if you have algae, you're not bringing it to 10, you're bringing it to 30. So now we're not putting in 3 gallons, we're putting in 9 gallons, right? Oh, that's over 2 cases of chlorine that you're having to put in this guy's pool. And then you got to do a return visit the next day, and you're probably putting in some algicide or swimtrine or something, right? So you got to brush it, you got to come back the next day, and you got to shock it back up to 10. So if it's 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later, and now this guy gets an extra, one of my guys did an extra $120 in chlorine this month.
Wow.
Because I told you about it like the week before.
Yeah.
I had to hit it with 10 pounds and then 10 pounds. So boom, 20 pounds of Cal Hypo right off the bat. You know, so it was it's fine if you tell them, because then you can go back and say, hey, you remember when we texted you on July 7th that, that picture, and that's what the pool looked like. Also, I'm very like direct with my clients in the sense of, if you have algae once, it's okay. But if I come back and you have algae again, like we kind of have a problem. Because like you didn't just get algae today or yesterday, you got algae before that. And it's been like that for 3 or 4 days. And that's what I always, so I always tell the client, like, I have an open door policy. So you can text me on a Tuesday, even if we come on a Friday, and say, hey, does this not look right? And then I'll send a guy on Wednesday out to take care of your pool. And maybe we do your visit on Wednesday instead of Friday. That makes a lot of sense. And then you can put in a little bit of extra chlorine. I don't have to charge you anything extra. Or if you have really bad algae, I can come on Wednesday and then I can come back on Friday and I do an extra service visit. But I don't have to charge you for a full extra service visit. But if this happens a bunch of times, then it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
And I argue with I don't want to say argue, but I always tell my commercial clients all the time when we come in the morning. And I mean, you saw that picture that I sent to our little group that we have, Wayne. It was one of our commercial clients, and they told us not to touch the equipment room. They were like, don't do anything in the equipment room other than put in chemicals. Like, like we'll let you know if we need anything. So we've been taking care of them now for like 3 months or so. And I'm like, drain the spa. And then it would fill back up. And he was like, dude, 2 days later, he goes there and he's like, looks terrible. So I finally called the guy and I'm like, are you guys backwashing the filter? And he was like, huh?
What's backwashing?
I was like, all right. I was like, okay. I was like, I told my service manager, I was like, okay. I was like, please go backwash the pool and the spa filter. He said it was so disgusting that like it actually, that was the picture that I sent you, Wayne, after we backwashed. And it was just,
I remember. Yep.
And it was just this like dirty greenish, like it looked like a sludge. It was gross. But I always tell them, and I mean to get off my point, but with your commercial clients, you have to tell them, like, especially if they're a hotel and they have an overnight person, that's when it's the time to backwash the filter and to put in the chemicals. So you do that at 10 p.m. You have, 12 hours or 8 hours, but before you have to open the pool, whenever you guys open the pool, and now you don't really have any issues with that. But when, now you show up in the morning and we show up at 6, 7, 8 o'clock maybe, and the pool is cloudy. So like all we can do is backwash and put in chemicals. Like we can't substitute anything for time, right? Is really what it is. So I think that the weather obviously is a big factor because, I waste a lot more. And I don't also want to say waste. I put a lot more money back into my business in the summertime, with chemical buying than I do in the wintertime.
Sure.
I've had it where like, we all have like these weird situations that we're in with this pool company. No two pool companies are the same, right? So a lot of guys, like I 1099 my guys, right? Because here in California, if you're doing business the proper way, they also have to be doing their own swimming pools if you're going to 1099 them. So they all have their own companies as well too. None of my guys are stealing from me, but like I've had to ask them like, hey, you only have like 12 pools this week for us. Like, why did you go pick up 7 cases of chlorine? Like, you don't need that much, Right. And they'll, like, store it at their house or, whatever it may be. But, like, we don't have, like, a central warehouse, even though we have, like, a mailing address. Like, we don't have, like, a storefront, right? So, like, everybody, I live in Long Beach. They live in Englewood, which is 35 minutes from each other. Like, we're seeing each other once or twice a week for a meeting. And, like, if we have to drop some stuff off to each other. But other than that, like, they're on their own. If they have to go pick up stuff, they're going to the distributor and picking it up on their own. And then putting it under my account. So that's what I was saying about, like, I have 5 or 6 different guys going and picking up 5 or 6 different things, So I had to have my distributors start to, number one, you have to text me a picture of what you bought. And number 2, on the invoice, the distributors are nice enough to say, hey, this is the guy who came and picked it up. So at least we can go back and forth with it. And it's also really important, all the stuff that you do buy to label it on your receipts by hand. I know it's archaic. It sounds archaic, but like you look back at your billing and you're like, who the hell did we buy, 4 zinc anode balls for? We don't have any left in stock. And I don't have any record of anybody buying any. Like I haven't charged anybody for one. And it's really hard to go back and, be like, hey, like I need to charge you for this $150 check valve that we put in when we put in your salt cell and forgot to charge you for it. Whatever. You know, so things like that. It's really hard for. It was really hard to like get the business in line, right? So that's that. I think that is the number one thing that like you really have to, and not going back to like you have to know exactly how many ounces are going in and out and stuff. But like when I used to run that pool company in New Jersey, we started making our guys do the calculations that we do in the CPO class. Because what we figured out is they were testing the water and they were like, oh, we put in 1 pound of cal hypo last week. Let's put in 1 pound of cal hypo this week. But last week, the pool was at 0 and this week it was at 5. So we really only should have put in a half a pound. So but if you have 200 pools, a half a pound at 200 pools is 100 pounds that you just overfed into these pools.
Right.
So 100 pounds of cal hypo retails now for $600, $700. So boom, you just lost $700. We saved Wayne $50,000 in like a season just by making people measure out the chemicals. And I told you this before that Hasa, before they teamed up with Orenda, they didn't want you to measure out their chemicals. No, they didn't give you a cup. Now they give you an Orenda cup that you can put in 2 ounces or 4 ounces or 6 ounces or, you know, whatever it may be that you want to put in. But now at least you know what it is. So again, I can't tell you how much measuring stuff and actually knowing how much is coming in and going out. And then I think the biggest thing that, you know, again, I touched on this the last few weeks, but if you are not growing in your business, you are literally dying, you know, and it's the same thing as your physical health, you know, like as you get older, your muscles start to deteriorate, right? So if you're not keeping up with that, you have issues. And it's the same thing with your business. If you're not growing, you're dying. So if you guys out there are, again, if you're only doing, you know, cleanings and because I have people call me all the time and they're like, I have a pool guy, but they don't work on heaters. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, so I can come out and charge you top dollar per hour and just to work on your heater. Because like, if you're my client, it's one thing. Like I'm giving you like a regular hourly rate, you know, somewhere between like $125 and $175, depending on like when the day is and whatever. And then you can do like emergency visits and stuff like that. But like for heater service, like you can charge over $200 an hour if you wanted to. You know, and the biggest thing with these one-off clients is like, I'm hoping that they're going to pay, you know, because you're kind of doing the work beforehand. You're sending them a proposal, but you're really doing the work beforehand. And that's another thing that, you know, you really want to make sure that everything is written down, even if you have like a phone conversation with someone, because I have had it bite me in the ass before, in a sense of you tell somebody a price and he agrees on the price. And now your guy shows up to do the installation and he's asking via text, like, how much was this?
Yeah.
And what's worse is like, what if I forget? Because like, what if I no, like I've had that happen before where like, you know, he's like, oh, like I thought you said it was $3,300 and like I said it was $3,700. But like if you don't follow that up immediately with a, you know, and that goes with like basically not any conversation, but if there's something that's like left back in their court and they need to get back to you, like you need to send them an email or a text and say, hey, was so good talking to you and catching up, you know, like this is what we talked about and this is where we kind of left it. So you let me know exactly what you're, you know, what you're thinking.
You okay? You there?
Yeah, I got like the street, like I guess the street sweepers here, so it's just like super loud. So Rudy's probably gonna have to cut this part out. Remember that video that I showed you that like with the water coming down the street? Now there's like a quarter inch of sand just in the street.
Oh jeez.
So I've never seen him really getting to work like this. He's really doing it.
Life in California. Tough. Well, sweet. So we've talked about a couple things today, some of the challenges, and of course we'd like to hear everything from your side of the world. So if you have any thoughts or comments or suggestions, or if you want to add to our list of some of the challenges you experience on a daily basis in the industry, please feel free to pop us an email to talkingpools@gmail.com and put it attention Wayne or Steve, and we will get it, take a look at it, and if we include it on the air, we'll send you a little thank you gift. We appreciate it. As always, Steve, thank you for your time and your knowledge and your big beard. And I had to shave mine. But we'll be talking at you all next week. Have a great one, guys. See ya.